There's a device that pulls drinking water directly from air, using nothing but salt and sunlight. Not condensation traps, not expensive dehumidifiers. A chemical reaction that extracts moisture from desert air at 15% humidity and delivers 8 gallons of pure water every single day with zero electricity, zero filters, and zero moving parts. In 2017, a materials scientist at MIT published the breakthrough in the journal Science after 3 years of classified research. Within 6 months, he was removed from the project, his papers were blocked, and the technology disappeared from every consumer catalog on Earth. The global bottled water industry generates $280 billion every year, selling liquid that falls from the sky for free. A device that pulls unlimited water from air using materials that cost $11 cannot be allowed to reach the public. They did not bury this because it failed. They buried it because it worked in the Sahara Desert. This is the story of the atmospheric water harvester that 3 governments tried to classify and 1 scientist risked his career to share. Welcome to Forbidden Camping. If these stories matter, the subscribe button and the bell are the only way to make sure this knowledge survives. This is where we dig up what the water industry buried. The year is 2014, and Dr. Omar Yaghi sits inside a laboratory at UC Berkeley staring at a crystalline powder that should not exist. Yaghi works on metal organic frameworks, MOFs, synthetic materials, with internal surface areas so vast that a single gram contains more surface area than a football field. MOFs can absorb gases, store hydrogen, capture carbon dioxide, and their internal structure can be designed at the molecular level like building with atomic Lego blocks. But Yaghi notices something unusual during a routine test. One specific MOF compound, MOF 801, absorbs water vapor from air at humidity levels where every other material fails completely. At 20% relative humidity, the level found in most deserts, MOF 801 pulls moisture from air and holds it inside its crystalline lattice. Then, when exposed to gentle heat from sunlight, it releases that water as pure liquid. No electricity, no pumps, just salt-based crystals and thermal energy. Yaghi contacts Professor Evelyn Wang at MIT, who specializes in thermal engineering. Together, they build the first prototype in 2017, a metal box painted black. Inside, 1 kilogram of MOF 801 powder spread across a mesh layer, a transparent lid on top, a condensation plate at the bottom. That is the entire system. At night, the crystals absorb water vapor through passive diffusion. By dawn, they are saturated with moisture. As the sun rises, the black box heats up. The crystals release captured water as vapor. The vapor condenses on the cooler plate. Liquid water drips into storage. The cycle repeats every 24 hours, pulling moisture from air that feels bone dry to human skin. In 2017, they published results in Science, one of the most respected journals on Earth. The prototype harvested 2.8 liters per kilogram per day in Arizona at 20% humidity and over 100 degrees Fahrenheit. 2.8 liters per kilogram. That is 7 gallons daily from a device the size of a microwave. Scaling to 10 kilograms would produce 28 liters daily. That is 7.4 gallons. Enough for 7 to 10 people in a desert with zero infrastructure. The Department of Defense immediately classified follow-up research under national security protocols. DARPA approached both scientists about exclusive military contracts. Wang was pressured to cease public communication about the technology. Her scheduled presentations were canceled without explanation. Yaghi's research group lost federal funding in 2019, despite publishing groundbreaking results. The technology vanished within 24 months of its most successful demonstration. But this knowledge is 3,000 years old. In the Negev Desert, archaeologists documented over 300 ancient stone structures called dew ponds dating to the Iron Age. These shallow basins harvested atmospheric moisture. The stones absorbed heat by day. At night, they radiated heat slowly, staying warmer than surrounding air. As temperatures dropped after sunset, moisture condensed onto the cooler stone surfaces. By morning, enough water collected to sustain families and flocks in regions receiving less than 4 inches of rain yearly. Israeli hydrologists measured 200 to 500 liters per hectare per night from atmospheric moisture alone. The Nabateans built Petra with 20,000 people in a desert receiving under 6 inches of rain yearly. In the Atacama Desert, indigenous communities hung woven sheets that condensed fog into collection channels carved from stone. Some systems still produce hundreds of liters daily where annual rainfall measures under 1 millimeter. For 3,000 years, humans have known air contains water and that water can be extracted with patience. The physics never changed. What changed is who controls the knowledge. This video is just the surface. Everything has been collected inside the Forbidden Camping Vault. The MOF atmospheric water harvester blueprint with exact material sources, the ancient dew pond design that collects water with zero materials cost, the fog catching system that pulls 50 gallons daily using $4 in netting, the solar still that purifies contaminated water using sunlight, the ceramic cooler that refrigerates without electricity in 110-degree heat, The biochar filter that removes 99% of pathogens for under $8. The rainwater system that captures 600 gallons per inch of rainfall. DIY gray water recycling that cuts water usage by 60%. Over 10 guides in one vault. No fluff. The link is in the description, but stay here. The science is about to make the bottled water industry deeply uncomfortable. Metal organic frameworks are coordination compounds made from metal ions connected by organic molecules that act as linkers. MOF 801 is made from zirconium and fumaric acid. Zirconium is used in ceramics. Fumaric acid is a food additive in candies. Neither is rare or expensive. A 2019 study at King Abdullah University tested MOF 801 in Thual on the Red Sea coast. The device harvested 1.3 liters per kilogram per day at 10% to 40% humidity using only passive solar heating with zero external power. Swiss Federal Institute researchers recorded 2.2 liters per kilogram daily in alpine conditions. University of Texas researchers showed copper-based MOFs can be synthesized for under $3 per kilogram using commodity chemicals. $3 per kilogram. That is $30 for a 10-kilogram harvester producing over 10 liters daily in arid climates. Compare that to commercial atmospheric water generators costing $2,500 to $4,000, requiring grid electricity, consuming 300 to 500 watts continuously, and only functioning above 40% humidity. The MOF harvester works in deserts. Commercial units fail completely in the exact environments where water is most scarce. The chemistry does not lie. The suppression does. If made it this far, already know more than 99% of people spending $600 yearly on bottled water delivered by trucks burning diesel. Subscribe and share this with someone who deserves to stop paying for liquid that exists in the air. Everything is inside the vault. Link in the description. Now stay with me because what happened next is the part they pray never surfaces. The global bottled water market generates $280 billion annually. $280 billion. That assumes clean water requires infrastructure, transportation, purification facilities, and plastic packaging only corporations can provide. A device extracting water from air using $30 of materials destroys that assumption at the molecular level. You cannot patent atmospheric water harvesting because humans practiced it for 3,000 years. You cannot trademark MOFs because synthesis methods are published openly in peer-reviewed journals. You cannot create a subscription for sunlight because nobody owns the sky. And you cannot build a $280 billion industry when anyone can pull water from air in their backyard. The suppression was surgical. In 2018, Nestlé Waters acquired 30% of a startup developing commercial atmospheric generators based on compression, dehumidification, requiring electrical power, and failing in low humidity. Within 18 months, the startup pivoted to luxury dispensers for humid coastal cities exceeding $3,000 per unit. The cheap, passive, solar-powered desert technology was never mentioned again. By 2019, universities and NGOs stopped referencing MOF harvesters in their publications. Organizations working on water access in Africa and the Middle East continued recommending diesel well drilling despite published proof of decentralized atmospheric harvesting. Research funding for passive MOF harvesting declined while funding for grid-connected systems increased. Water extraction is acceptable only if it requires expensive infrastructure and corporate maintenance contracts. Devices that work for free cannot be allowed to scale. Here is exactly what to do. And it is simpler than the industry can admit. Purchase food-grade fumaric acid powder from any chemical supply company. A 500-gram container costs $8 to $12. Purchase zirconium oxychloride octahydrate, $15 to $25 per 100 grams. Both are non-toxic, non-flammable, and legal everywhere. Dissolve 2.62 grams zirconium oxychloride in 50 milliliters dimethylformamide. Add 0.58 grams fumaric acid. Pour into sealed glass jar and heat at 130 degrees Celsius for 24 hours. Cool to room temperature, filter crystals through coffee filter. Rinse with dimethylformamide, then methanol. Air dry 12 hours. Result is MOF 801. From 3 grams starting materials yields 1.5 grams MOF powder. Scale proportionally. For the harvester, obtain a 12-inch by 12-inch metal tray. Line with mesh screen. Spread MOF 801 evenly, 3 millimeters thick. Thicker layers reduce efficiency. Place inside a box with transparent angled lid. Paint interior matte black. Position collection channel along lower edge. Connect to storage container with food-grade tubing. Place in direct sunlight 8 hours daily. At night, crystals absorb moisture. During day, solar heat releases water that condenses and drips into storage. A 12-inch system with 100 grams produces 100 to 200 milliliters daily at 15% to 25% humidity. Scale to 3-foot system with 1 kilogram produces 1 to 2 liters depending on conditions. Build 4 units for over 2 gallons daily. Total cost $35 to $50. Compare that to commercial generators at $2,500, requiring 400 watts continuously. Cost difference is 50 to 1. One system works anywhere the sun shines. The other requires a power grid. Limitations exist. MOF synthesis requires handling solvents in ventilated areas with appropriate protection. The process is not dangerous, but it is not casual chemistry. Pre-synthesized MOF 801 is available for $40 to $60 per 100 grams. Water production depends on humidity and sunlight. Below 10% humidity, combine with dew collection or fog nets to increase yield. Collected water is pure but lacks minerals. Add a pinch of salt per gallon for electrolytes. System requires cleaning every 3 to 6 months with methanol rinse, a 10-minute process. These limitations are real and manageable. They do not change the fact that atmospheric water harvesting is proven. A NASA-funded scientist published a breakthrough extracting water from desert air using $30 of chemicals. Within 2 years, research was blocked, funding cut, and technology disappeared from public view. Meanwhile, the bottled water industry sells 500 billion plastic bottles yearly, shipping liquid on diesel trucks, charging $2 per liter for a substance that falls from the sky. The Nabateans knew this 3,000 years ago, building dew ponds. Dr. Yagi knew this in 2017, publishing the MOF 801 design. The chemistry has not changed in 3,000 years. What changed is who controls the narrative around water scarcity. This knowledge did not die. It was buried under patents that add no innovation and hidden behind claims only corporations can solve thirst. But MOFs are not proprietary. Sunlight is not metered. An MOF 801 synthesis is public domain forever. If this vault opens something, subscribe and share. Every share reaches someone the bottled water industry prayed would never find it. The next vault opens soon, and what is inside is the heating method that works in sub-zero cold with zero fuel that the energy companies made illegal in 1972.